Honorable Speaker, colleague, honorable members, Vice President and Cabinet Ministers, good afternoon. Honorable Speaker, going straight to the subject that is a discussion on the SONA that His Excellency has presented on, I want to start this deliberation with the Minister of Fisheries and Water Resources. I saw the Minister. I am not sure if he has stepped out. Honorable Speaker, during His Excellency's deliberation, he has talked about 20 fishing boats that were bought and initiated by the Minister of Fisheries, given to beneficiary communities. We want these things to be clear. We want to know the specification of these boats during response. What type of boats are these? And we would like to know the beneficiary communities of these various boats. The amount of fund that has been spent on the preparation and the building of these boats, we would also love to know. What is the amount of fund that has been spent on these 20 boats? We would also like to know if the ministry has done an assessment to assess the impact of these fishing boats on the various communities so that we can try to see if this was a beneficial endeavor or it was just to score a political capital. However, Honorable Speaker, I want Honorable Minister of Fisheries or the Vice President to explain to this August House how Fisheries Development Fund $80 million has been spent. And I would love to be explained with the Minister of Finance if this $80 million has been audited, and if no, why was it not audited? Has it also gone to the Consolidated Revenue Fund when it arrived? $80 million is Fisheries Development Fund 2023. We want to know how it has been spent, and we request for an immediate audit for this $80 million Fisheries Development Fund. However, Honorable Speaker, to economic issues that the President has talked about, I think there is a lot of revenue that is bypassing the national revenue structure. If you go around Westfield and Bambo, this is a cluster for the black market of foreign exchange. We have a revenue structure that is built, and we have people that are sitting to monitor to ensure that trading, as far as foreign currency is concerned, taxes are levied on institutions that pay tax and establish structures, and this is supposed to go through those structures so that government realizes revenue in this. But anytime you talk about this, minister will tell you, we don't have evidence of this yet. And do you expect us to hold somebody's hand and bring it to Minister of Finance and say, this person is trading in this? It's not possible. But anybody who moves around Westfield and Bambo Serakunda, you know it's a cluster. It's a whole cluster for black market. And if you question, where do they get those currencies? Go and, where do they get access to currencies? Those people that are putting currencies in hundreds of thousands of foreign currencies, where do they access them? We need to question Central Bank about this. We need to question Minister of Finance about this. And we are all giving debt ear to this. These are some of the things that are killing our economy. And there are people who are putting those bypass revenues to our general revenue structure in their pockets because it's not ghost. Honorable Speaker, away from that, I think it's quite important for us to ask questions to the Minister of Interior, security issues, particularly about the drug issues that we are confronted with in our country. Where is the drug coming from? Are our borders not secure? What is the responsibility of the security? Before people abuse, it must have come from somewhere and entered our country. What do the security sector do about that? You cannot wait until it is killing people you want to stop, but it is coming in. How does it get in? If the government does not address that one, we will accuse them of allowing it in the country. It has to be protected from coming in before we protect people from abusing it. It's not possible. We must start from somewhere. Honorable Speaker, coming to Minister of Youth and Sports, during His Excellency's deliberation, he highlighted that the Minister of Youth and Sports has inaugurated numerous mini stadiums. We want to know these mini stadiums and the beneficiary communities. Name us these mini stadiums and where they are. We want to know them. And we want to know that are still ongoing as far as construction is concerned and those that are completed. Honorable Speaker, under security, the President highlighted significant increase in revenue generated by immigration. From 110 million in 2022 to 200 million in 2023. What has changed? What situation has changed? We need to establish whether there was either a revenue suppression or whatsoever that needs to be established. What situation has changed? That leads to this significant increase of revenue. You need to explain to us that. You cannot just tell us there has been a significant increase and what, because we need to know what was not happening before that has changed now and that leads to this significant increase to be able to assess whether there was a revenue suppression, in fact, whether they can generate more than 300 million. So we need to do a holistic study of the process to be able to know what leads to this significant increase. Because this is what you've done in this particular year, and you went marginally, a very significant amount ahead of that. So we need to establish what causes that. Honorable Speaker, I want to go to the Minister of Agriculture. Agriculture, we have appropriated funds to buy 180 tractors during budget session. And the promise was to deliver these tractors for this 2024 farming season. What is the state of these tractors? Have you started the procurement process? Has the procurement process in fact concluded? And who are the suppliers? If you have finished procurement, who are the suppliers of these tractors? We would love to know, and whether this farming season, these tractors will be supplied to the various farmers. Honorable Speaker, to the Minister of Environment, Minister of Environment, if you walk through the South Bank Road, Jara, Kiang, and other parts of the country, timber, we are not seeing it being transported. But charcoal and firewood, we are not saying people cannot fetch firewood from the woods, but they are using it as a source of living, as a livelihood activity. That's not possible. This is why we are losing our forest on a daily basis. And we have laws that is there to protect that. We have security, we have police officers, we have forestry officers in various regions and districts. What is happening? And they are seeing it. They cannot tell us they are not seeing it. So I think we need to take a bold step to ensure that we, people execute, implement or apply the laws that, that we appropriate or that are formulated from this parliament. Otherwise, our country is not going anywhere. Honorable Speaker, other than that, finally, I will conclude with Minister of Fisheries still and water resources. We appropriated $10 million for the drilling of boreholes across the country in the rural communities. You've talked about drilling these boreholes. Give us the beneficiary communities of the boreholes that are finished, the ones that you have drilled but are not being built yet. We want to know these beneficiaries. So that this August Assembly, the committee responsible for that, when we go around, we can use that checklist you've given us to see if you have implemented this and the status of those things and its benefits on those various communities. We would definitely love to have that one. Ministry, comment of policy reforms and other things. It is high time for you to do a civil service audit. We need to do a serious audit to see our civil service structure. The number of people that are receiving salaries, whether we have ghost workers among, people don't need to be redundant in the system. And we suspect that is happening. So give us, and we request that you do a thorough.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member for Kiang West.
Petroleum and energy. Our concern is the water division. It has been said in the other summer, and it's said again, we are trying to ensure that the Minister of Petroleum and Energy fast-track this process. If they have fast-track and divide the electric component and the water component, these are things that should be real by now. There is no time to delay some of these things. They were here 2022, it was said, and it is said, but we are not seeing the action from the Ministry of Energy. And I'm urging the Ministry of Energy to ensure that this is expedited. That's what the Gambians need, and the President is committed in addressing what the Gambians need. On lands, regional, and government, for the first time in the history of this country, that we are doing a land mapping. This administration is really adhering to the need and the aspiration of this country. I think we need to applaud the government and its ministers for doing extremely well in trying to save this country in the way that people expect from them. And that is the reason why we said the ministry had it planned for the first time in the history of this country to have land mapping. Yes, for the first time, the ministry had a plan to map out, and those are the only way forward, because we understand that we're going to face challenge on land regarding all the disputes that involve land. There have not have been a comprehensive plan, and now the executive and the minister is very much committed to ensure that we have a well mapped out for lands that have been segregated for agricultural purpose and other industrial purposes. I think the ministry is doing very well, and they are commended for that, and the reality is seen. In corruption, I think His Excellency has said its plans to handle corruption. That's as a result, we also enacted the anti-corruption bill. But I'm urging the executive to expedite this as soon as possible. We need to address this corruption that is happening in this country. As a result, this refers me to digital economy. I'm interested, and I would urge all the National Assembly members to be interested in a business that involves SIPCA. SIPCA is a business, is an institute that have been rated as #1 corrupt company in this world. I've read an article in Ghana, and I don't expect that this country would ally itself to any company that is named as a corrupt company. And if the government is doing that, I'm taxing the Minister of Digital Economy, seated here, and I'm taxing the Vice President and also the Minister of Justice. That company was rated as a corrupt company. As a corrupt company, we are fighting corruption. We see no reason that we can have a business with a corrupt company. And we will follow the business, and I want the Assembly to really look into that business. That is a business that we have to look at. We cannot just sign agreement or business with people that are already rated in the world as criminal. I look at an article in Ghana. It really clears out that SIPCA have no space, and whosoever advising the president on that must come to this parliament and explain to us. And I'm writing a parliamentary question on that matter. I'm so concerned about that business. We have to be serious as a nation, and we must be committed to combat corruption from the latter. And those are practical things that we have to do. Information. I'm really happy, and all countries know that the information sector have improved. We are making sure that the ministry is coming with robust plans to ensure that people are accountable the kind of information that are given, and the credibility. And not only that, but to ensure that journalists are trained, given the training capacity that need, so that they can be more professional, ethical, and giving out the best that they can give. That would not have bring anything in this country. So I'm very happy that the minister is moving on that direction, and you can see the information system has started saving, because they are ready to learn, and they are ready to give people credible information with no bias information. And these are manifests of how government is being open to ensure that access to information, especially information that is very credible, very positive. The public sector, the public service. I think the minister is here. With due respect, the country wants to hear increment of salary. The country wants to hear the increment of services. And then unfortunately, in this speech, I never hear about salary increment. And the country is crying. They need salary increment. They need salary increment in the civil sector. So we expect that the ministry will work as soon as possible to ensure that salary is being increased. We had concern. People are crying. It needs to be restructured. The salaries need to be restructured, and that is for real. Some people, they're really suffering out of this, the current salary structure, situation. And the president talked about security. You cannot do anything if you are not secure. And then we can see the layers of security reform that we are informed in this thing. And these are two manifests that the president's commitment in ensuring that we have a secured nation. And then we are ready and committed to ensure that anything that is related to security reform, we will support the president to ensure that we have a well-informed and secured country.
The president made mention of numerous classrooms that are built by MRC Holland and other stakeholders or supporters or donor agents. As far as education is concerned and yearning for development is concerned, the life and the livelihood of the teachers must be looked at and put into due consideration. It is very disheartening sometimes. There are certain areas, if you go there and look at the life and the condition of the teachers, it is very hard. And other teachers also are in very far distances, especially far to reach areas or hard to reach areas that they call it sometimes, in which I feel we need to give due consideration as the honorable member for Upper Florida mentioned. Lower Florida, we don't need salary increment. What we need is salary restructuring. As long as we did not come and advocate for restructuring our salaries, we will increase the salary today and the tax will also increase as well. So if you look at it, 95% of what we are increasing will even go back to tax. Now, the other issue is under the Ministry of Trade, Industry, Regional Integration and Employment, in which he made mention in his speech in giving a consideration and reduction on food items, especially the cost of rice. 95% of the compound heads are getting sick, they are getting tired. Sometimes the Njai Kundankas even decided to run away from their families because of the price for rice. But thank God, at least it is mentioned in the sooner address that that issue will soon be addressed. Honorable Speaker, under the same thread also, where they made mention of foreign exchange. If you look at this foreign exchange, especially the use of CFA in our country, if you look at the use of CFA in our country, it is not in any sense controlled. You will go to this particular area, the price is $575. You go to another area, they will say it's $580. Others will even tell you it's $600. I guess we must come with a mechanism of controlling the foreign currency in our country, because there is no way that we can use our dalasi in Senegal. Even the closest village in Senegal, you go there with your dalasi, you cannot use it. There's nothing that you can do with it. And if you look at the CFA, it's even in the heart, in the capital of this country. I think there is a need for us to put up mechanisms, to put up plans in order to solve that particular problem. Honorable Speaker, on that note, I thank you for giving me the floor.
And I want to task the defense minister that there are bills that are featured in this assembly. A bill called TACOS is still lingering around from the Ministry of Finance to Defense Ministry to Judiciary. I don't know where is it actually. And I believe any nation could move without augmenting the security and the enumeration of securities. I've seen the National Security Bill, so National Security Council Bill is already in place. But it is 5 years today, TACOS is still lingering. What is the problem? Vice President, I want you to help us. Where is this bill hanging? Why is it hanging, and why is still not in these chambers? We want to know. Because this is where securities also have their upright eyes to see. and changes will also begin in the security apparatus. Honorable Speaker, in Interior, we've learned as Immigration Department that 2 million was registered in 2023. And now looking at the third part of it, about 104 in 2022. This is not a surprise. I think the government needs to be very serious in this angle. Our last visit, we told Bundung alone, a month of collection, $2 million to $3 million, Bundung alone. Serekunda, 2 to 3 million monthly collection. So now, if we have such institutions that could be able to avail and give us financial aspects, why are we not empowering this? And the saddest of all is this, Honorable Speaker, to the Vice President. The immigration officers in Bundung Kakunda and Serekunda will use private vehicles to go and do collections, private vehicles. Now, if they're not empowered, this is why you see the drop of financial losses. So I think we have passed that age. If we bestowed a formidable task force like immigration in collections of our money without putting the right foot in, it will be a challenge. So I put this to the Minister of Interior to have a look onto immigration and find a befitting solution in this current situation. Honorable Speaker, in digital economy, we've talked about ID card, and I know we have issues in our national ID card. You go to a Canifin, they'll give you 1 month, 2 months. It's still a challenge. And it's an allege that we've had that the current predicament of ID card has been issued to a Ghanaian company. Honorable Vice President, we want you to avail us if that is the case. If not, let's look at inward. We have software developers that will be able to control and take ownership of our ID card system in the country. Rather, outsourcing and giving to other companies outside. What is the problem with us? So I think we should graduate with some of those issues now. So without which you now to your own national ID card is a challenge. And the problem is your data is outside. You don't have access to certain privileges of your data. It's all controlled. Whatever you want to do, they'll now tell you, okay, wait, we'll give you this, we'll give you this. So I think we have to graduate from this. If issues of Simlex is history, let's look inwards and make sure we make a check on this. And the issue of Gamcel, I think it's high time for us to look at. And I could add this. Let's be very careful with our national assets. National assets are as important as our security. Technology, you outsource it, give it out. Other issues, you give it out, it becomes a challenge. And tomorrow, it will haunt us. There are other countries like Rwanda that had did it. Today, they're suffering. Before, they had changed to fit their own issues. It's a challenge. So either looking partly, privatization of Gamcel and selling out Gamcel, to who? And which of the companies? And what benefit do we have? These are all issues that I think the Minister of Digital Economy, through the Vice President, should also note this. Honorable Speaker, in the issue of education, we all know that Minister of Basic and Secondary Education, tertiary and higher education, is on reforms, university, MDI, the GTTIs, and whatever. But the biggest challenge that they have is funding. The President has alluded in his speech that he has given a lot of scholarship. But you realize that the problem that MDI or GTTI or UTG is facing, give scholarship, but paying those scholarships is a problem. So we want you to take us through or put us that what is wrong with the Minister of Finance in alleviating monies to those respective scholarships. If UTG has no money, you just give a paper and a course scholarship to people. After paying, it becomes a problem. I think I could remember last year, over 100 and something million, both GTTI and UTG had an arrears in terms of scholarship. So I believe these are all issues that could also help the institution and make it better for its growth. And again, TVET education is also key. But the problem that we are facing is TVET educations, for example, Demban is up running, I disagree with the speech of the president. I think he is not much informed. Kanilai is still stagnant. No water, underdevelopment. Some of the issues that are supposed to do is not there. So there is no learning going in Kanilai. It's only in Demban that is ongoing. So I want to make that correction. So as people are giving information to the president, will also be able to avail and make it fine-tuned. And I also put this, that they've also talked about SIG for enterprise, whatever. SIG for basic and secondary is a challenge. Instead of coming with a new one, why can they augment and see a change in the current SIG trial that is going in schools? Honorable Speaker, finally, I may last my part into the Ministry of Gender. Thank God the President has alluded and also put record straight in issues of the ministry, and also the transformation agenda of laws, and also issues that are part and parcel in the Ministry of Gender. Number 7, if I may put through, it says, Honorable Speaker, note it's a private member bill to repeal the Women's Amendment Act 2015, currently on the way, under review by the legislative, while awaiting the outcome. Government remains committed to enforce the prohibition of FGM. I want to help the writers. We need to be sincere in what we put in papers. The bill before us is called Prohibition of Female Circumcision. And I want to inform the Ministry of Gender and the President that in the Gambia, we circumcise, but we don't mutilate. Therefore, we are guided by the laws of this country. Section 32 says, right of culture. Every person shall entitled to enjoy, practice, profess, maintain, and promote any culture, language, or tradition, or religion. Section 25C1 says, right to religion. Every person shall have the right to freedom of
region, they have skill training center, except CRR not. But they have laid the foundation stone at WASU. We would like to know the level of that skill training center, because that is very, very important. That's going to change the lives of the people in CRR North, particularly our youths. We would like to know the level of that. Honorable Speaker, agriculture is the backbone, we used to say. But, Honorable Speaker, you see, agriculture is crops and animals. It's crops and animals. And I was looking at the report. Anytime I'm addressing agriculture, I look at whether the welfare of animals are taken care or not. And there is nothing about animals in the report. There is nothing. I don't see, they only talk about, crops. And they must not forget about the livestock sector. About the drinking points, you go to certain areas, still now, drinking points is an issue in those areas. Honorable Speaker, from there I go to fisheries and water resources. We are not saying that government did not do anything in terms of providing safe and clean drinking water for the people. They have done a lot. But still now, when you go to our rural areas, you still see, just 2 weeks back, all of you have seen a video. Somebody went to my constituency and started putting picture and say, look at this where the MP is from. That person thought that he is tarnishing my character. He is tarnishing the government. That look at what people are drinking from. My role as a National Assembly member is to address the needs of my people. And I have been doing that, and I will continue to do that. The Honorable Minister for Water Resources is a witness. I always put it to him. The areas that lack safe and clean drinking water. And that's what I can stop. But if somebody go out and say, yeah, he is tarnishing the government, not me. Honorable Speaker, if you look at the report, Honorable Speaker, you look at the report, page 35, that's about women. The famous bill, that's about Women Amendment Bill. We are on contracts, Honorable Speaker. As a National Assembly member, you are on contract. If you do well, you will come back. If you don't do well, you will not come back. You have to address the needs of your people. If your people say they don't want this, who are you or who is to tell you that, yes, accept this? Okay, it's left to you now. That's why I stopped. The bill will come back. What I want to say, I will say it. But you are on contract. Do justice.
I just want to remind us that the President, in fulfillment of Section 77, which I will want to read so that we would understand the scope in which we have to debate, I think it's important. The President shall at least once in each year attend a sitting of the National Assembly and address a session on the condition of the Gambia, the policies of the government, and the administration of the state. This is why we are here today. You don't expect the President to tell you that I have allocated $50 million to build health centers. Now you want him to tell you that in that health center, we will buy paracetamol, we will buy injections, we will buy this, we will buy that. That is not what we are expecting from here. We have to understand the reason why we are here. If you want the President to tell you all these things, you have other ways of getting these answers from them. You have other methods of getting these answers from the ministries. You want to get the specific of a particular boat that was bought, how it was procured, the amount that was spent, the supplier. If you want to get those things, you have other ways of getting it. Those are not specifics that the President will address in the State of the Nation address. We have to understand this. You expect the President to address you on policies of governance, on administration. This is what you expect from the State of the Nation address. Sometimes we need to understand these issues. It's very important. Honorable Speaker, I will want to come to the Ministry of Transport, Works and Infrastructure. It's a very important ministry. And the President has made mention that the transport sector contributes significantly to the economy of this land. The Gambia Ports Authority, for instance, recorded revenue collection of $1,563 million in 2023, representing a 2% increase over the $1,534 million. And this is what they are spending on road infrastructure. So this is telling you that the funds, the local government funding, the revenue that we are mobilizing, this is what we are using. This is what the government of the day is using to spend on our roads, instead of what going on loans, lending, which will be to the detriment of our own grandchildren. So you see, they are focusing on the future. They are not only limited to what they are having now. So they are trying to generate revenue through what? Resource-based mobilization, to make sure that they have enough resources to build on roads and to develop our infrastructure. And if that happens, what happens? The economy will grow. I think that is very key and very important. You go to trade, industry, trade and regional whatsoever, trade, industry, regional integration and employment. And he said recent measures to mitigate external shocks thus include stabilizing prices and ensuring the availability of essential food commodities. Furthermore, we are now giving priority to vessels carrying essential goods to avoid undue charges, and we provide subsidies for flour and fuel. Now, I have been saying this, transportation is very key and very important. So if government is subsidizing fuel, you know what that means? It means the transport of that particular goods from Banjul to the rural areas, to Basse, to Farafenye, the transport cost will be what? Cheaper. And if transport costs on basic food commodities are cheap, That means the basic food commodities will be cheaper. I think that is a step in the right direction. Sometimes it is good to criticize government, but when you criticize based on facts. You criticize based on merit, because your criticism should have a great impact on the what? Economical growth of this country. And it's very important. And that is why the government of the Gambia, in collaboration with the National Assembly, I can say, we approve $50 million US dollars. And that is what the president is saying here in his State of the Nation address. He said, in collaboration with the Ministry of Finance, the country secured a $50 million to do what? Trade finance facility from Badia to support the importation of essential food commodities and fuel. So it means this $50 million, the government of the Gambia has taken it as a loan to help our businessmen in the country, to make sure that, because what they always complain of is having foreign money to go and import these goods, because they cannot take our local currency, which is the Gambian dollar, to European countries, to other countries where they have to import these basic commodities. And that is why the government has taken this step to take this loan on their behalf, so that when they give in this foreign money, they will be able to have enough foreign currency to import these local goods, these basic commodities. But my problem with this is, which I said when we were approving this, is it going to the right people? Is it going to the right businessmen? This was my question. Because if we take this loan on behalf of businessmen and you attach some conditions which will deter our local businessmen from getting access to this, the purpose is defeated. And that is what has happened. You have attached certain conditions to make sure that only one individual will qualify to get access to that loan. That means you are not encouraging diversification. It should have been left open for all our local businessmen to have easy access to get this funding, so that they can import oil, they can import rice, they can import basic commodities, to make sure that we have the basic commodities, the prices on basic commodities at a very cheaper price, so that it will be affordable to the low-income earners. Imagine if government is taking these steps. I think those that are implementing should be held to account. They have to make sure, because intention and realities are two different things. The intention you had in approving this 50 million, the intention has been defeated. So these are certain things that we need to look at.